2022. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Today we have a lot lined up for you. Later on in the show, I'll be joined by John Masharia, who is the country manager, Agra, and we will be talking about agri-SMEs and this whole idea of how they can stay afloat even with a high cost of living. And also we'll be looking at COP27 and what this means for even the agriculture sector moving forward. But before we get to that discussion, we are going to be looking at some of the stories that we have today. Now, IMF staff and Kenyan authorities have reached staff-level agreement on the fourth review of Kenya's economic program under the Extended Credit Facility agreements. Kenya will now have access to about $433 million in financing once the review is formally completed by the IMF Executive Board. Now, according to IMF, the Kenyan economy has been resilient in the face of a challenging environment with completion of peaceful elections that has led to expanding credit in the private sector. Now, we are also going to be looking at this story where Kenya Airways pilots who have been on strike for 4 days were ordered by the Employment and Labor Relations Court to resume duties by 6 a.m. today. Lady Justice Anna Mwaure also directed the Kenya Airways management not to take any disciplinary action against the pilots who have been on strike.
CEO. As the strike by Kenya Airways pilots entered the fourth day, pilots found themselves in unfamiliar territory at the Employment and Labor Relations Court. The pilots facing contempt of court after the Kenya Airline Pilots Association (KALPA) kicked off a strike 4 days ago, despite a court order obtained by Kenya Airways. The pilots sought 7 days to allow those cited for contempt to seek legal representation.
If we give you 7 days to respond, what is going to happen to your organization?
Lady Justice Anna Mwaure, after listening to the parties in the case, ordered them to engage in talks.
So I have ordered them to talk and see whether we can have, even if it's a partial agreement for the time being, to be returned to me at 2:30 today.
Legal teams representing KQ and the Pilots Association (KALPA) were back in court in the afternoon, but with nothing to report. The court made its ruling.
The respondent members, and especially the Kenya Airways pilots, to resume their duties as pilots by 6 a.m. on 9th November 2022 unconditionally.
Lady Justice Anna Mwaure has directed the KQ management not to take any disciplinary action against the pilots who kept off the skies for 4 days.
The applicants, KQ, to allow the pilots to perform their duties without harassing them or intimidating them, and especially by not taking any disciplinary action against any of them.
The strike by the pilots who warned Kenya Airways to honor their pension savings plan left dozens of flights grounded, hundreds of passengers stranded, and the export of tons of fresh produce cargo stalled. On Monday, KQ announced vacancies to replace pilots who went on strike. Azimio la Umoja One is faulting the government over how it handled the strike.
There's neither leadership nor direction. Instead, there are only threats to the striking pilots, blame games, backpassing, and politicking over the matter.
With a loss of an estimated 300 million shillings daily, the 4-day strike spells more trouble for the national carrier, which is already trying to weather financial turbulence. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Now, the Cabinet Secretary, Trade and Industrialization, has given a stern warning to squatters living on the East African Portland Cement Company to start moving out of the said land as he extends to repurpose it into a cargo city and a modern engineering center. He said this during the launch of Green Triangle Cement, a new product that aims to reduce carbon emissions.
At the backdrop of heightened conversations around environmental conservation and reduction of carbon emissions, East Africa Portland Cement Company has joined the global push to reduce carbon emissions by launching Green Triangle Cement. Portland further called on the Ministry of Industrialization for preferential treatment on government projects.
This ceremony marks the beginning of our commercial sale of Green Triangle Cement, our latest innovation for block laying, plastering, general construction work, which has been innovated. And the company is on a mission to acquire 35%, Bwana Waziri, on all government projects. Here we're looking at roads, bridges, dams, and affordable housing.
With the cement manufacturer still in the red, with a negative working capital despite recording its best result in October after 3 years, Trade and Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria committed to turn the East African Portland cement around.
East African Portland cement will not fall and it will not fail. And if it does, it's not under my watch. So if you fall within my ministry, supporting East African Portland is not a request. It has to be done. We're discussing with a number of partners to use the idle land we have within East African Portland cement to develop Kenya's first exclusive cargo airport right here.
The cabinet secretary expressed his frustrations with squatters occupying Portland Cement's land, noting that they are an impediment on the development of a cargo city and a modern engineering center.
In the next 8 years, I must raise the GDP contribution of manufacturing from 7% to 20%. We can create hundreds of thousands of jobs. Do you want me to bow to the few thousands of people, squatters? Or do you want me to look at hundreds of thousands of people who are give jobs right here? Hakuna mtu anaelewa hustlers kuliko sisi. Sisi ndio mahustler original. So don't tell me that you are oppressing hustlers. People come for public participation to represent squatters. They come with Prados and V8s better than mine. So mimi nitakuja hapa. I will protect, I will ring-fence the land that has not been grabbed. Let me look for the best graders and tractors. I will flatten those structures, my friend. Make no mistake. Mwanze kuhama. So kuliko I flatten them my way, please, I am asking you, start moving tonight.
The cabinet secretary's remarks sets a new twist on the issues of squatters, where the cement company had earlier stated that the squatters can start buying parcels of land they have been living on its Athi River property. The manufacturer